the big African vipers, how to make them thrive in captivity, coming up. Hey, before we get rolling today, I want to send a big thank you out to Diego from Rio. You know who you are, brother. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you very much for your support. And a big thank you to Steven Stewart Music for your support. Thank you guys very much. It's going for a good cause. We're actually feeding these animals today with some of your guys' support money. So we got some more coming for you guys. We're going to keep plugging away. And thank you very much to the Venom Squad. Hey, Venom Squad, Willie at Venom Central here. Hey, today we're gonna work with the big African vipers. Now, we've done several videos about the gaboons and the puff adders and venom toxicity and speed and all that they entail. I realize this because some of my subscribers have been hitting me up on captive care, you know, and they say you give us great information on venom and everything that goes with it, but you know, how do you make them thrive? How do you keep them alive and keep them happy and keep them breeding and everything that you do? So today we're going to do the gaboon puff thing, but we're actually going to teach you how to maintain them. I'm going to tell you guys how I do it, what I do to keep them happy and thriving and healthy, and I've raised a bunch of them, I breed a bunch of them, but we're going to give you some captive care today, okay? And we're actually going to feed them. I mean, we've got to feed all the big stuff tonight, so we're going to feed some stuff for you, and we're going to have fun. I'm going to explain to you just my procedure on the way I keep my stuff healthy, temperatures, humidity, photo period, everything that it entails. So hang in there, guys. School's in session. We're going to start out with the puff adders, the Bitis Arietans, and I've got a group of them, and I've raised these things from just little squirts, okay? And we bred them last year, and we only got a couple babies, but it was their first year going. But we actually cycled them this last season for this season. Puff adders and gaboons, they don't breed like our North American vipers, our North American pit vipers. You don't put them through a big long cool down, and they're on a different schedule. They do things a little differently according to the weather from where they're from in Africa and what region they're at in Africa. I had copulation this week with my Namibian puff adders, and I've got Namibians that are real pretty yellow ones, and it was a little early. Like last year it happened a couple months later than this, but I got a good copulation. It lasted over 10 hours. I mean, it was crazy. I was in here working, and I happened to look over, and I'm listening to them, something banging around, and I look at the puff adders, and they're locked up, and she's dragging him all over the cage, and he's bumping all over the place. He looked like he was breakdancing. It was funny as hell. But I actually got some video of it, and I'm going to see if Dina can put that video into this video. She's going to put that video in this video. But anyway, so I didn't get it with our normal filming camera. I got it with my cell phone, so it's going to look a little funny. It's the vertical kind, because I was holding the phone like this instead of sideways. But anyways, but you'll get to see the action of them copulating. We'll pop that in there after we're done with the feeding. Africa. Everybody thinks Africa, hot, steamy, jungle, you know, savanna, dry. The thing is, gaboons and puff adders have different requirements, okay? Now, puff adders, they require it hot. I mean, I keep my puffs, I mean, literally, like, if you look here, now, this side of their cage, now, it took me a lot of work to get this temperatures right in these 4-foot units. Now, this side of the units, they stay at about 85 to 86 degrees. Puff adders need it warm and dry, and they like it hot. And I'll tell you, they spend a good remainder of the day on this side. They're over there on the hot side a lot. And I'll tell you, like, and the difference with keeping puffs to gaboons, gaboons can tolerate it cooler, okay? They can take it 78 to 82, and they're comfortable and they're good with that. Because puff adders require heat. I mean, they're an arid snake. I mean, literally, gaboons and puffs are from the different end of the spectrums, okay? And a lot of guys make the mistakes of keeping puff adders similar to keeping gaboons, thinking bitis, you know, rhino vipers, gaboons, puff adders. But puff adders is an arid species. I mean, they come from scrub, rocky, outcrops, brushy. I mean, they're just a hot snake. They come from very arid areas. I mean, they're from two different habitats. I mean, a puff adder, I keep my puffs hot. I mean, warm side of the cage, high 80s. Other side of the cage, low 80s. Now that's during the day, okay? But in the evening, at nighttime, when everything cycles in here and their photo period goes, and right now this time of the year, it's spring, they're on 12 and 12. And let me tell you, it gets down to about 77, 78 degrees in here, and that's their nighttime temperature, and they're good with that. But during the day, when my heat lamps are on in there, and believe me, I spent weeks monkeying with these cages to get them right. The right bulb that emits the right heat, letting it run all day, checking temperatures on and off. I mean, to get it so it stays stable with the rest of the cage. It's a pain in the ass, but these are things you got to figure out when you're keeping these things. So, hot end, cool end. Hot end is hot. When I say hot, I mean 85, 86 degrees. And believe me, they spend most of the day on that side. The only time they go over to the other side is like when the lights go off. When their photo period is off, they move over to the other side of the cage. We've got a pair right here, okay? Now this is the big female. And over here is the male. He's in that little hide log, little big hide log. Now normally, if this was daytime, during their hot cycle, middle of the day, they'd both be over here on this side, underneath that little bulb. But we're going to get a feed into these guys, and we're going to do it with the Venom cam, so we can get that head on strike, the fangs in your face strike. Carry on puff adders. It's what I want to teach you guys. And feeding puff adders the way I feed them, safely, without getting drilled, because a bite from one of these guys would be horrific. I mean, the venom from a puff adder, and the yield is so huge, it's unbelievable. I mean, the venom, it's cytotoxic. I mean, that's killing shit on a cellular level. I mean, most of the time, bites require amputations. It's a ugly thing. I had somebody email me about puffs that said they got respiratory, and it's because you're spraying them. And you've got too humid and too cool forms. Jack the heat up on them, keep them drier, and they'll breathe good. Okay, so your puff guys, keep them warm, keep them dry. There is no reason for a puff adder to get frickin' respiratory. That's if your puff adder's got respiratory, you're keeping them wrong. You're not keeping them dry enough, and you're not keeping them warm enough. Puff adders should never get respiratory infection. That's something that's totally in left field. Gaboons get it, because people are constantly spraying them down, and you need to keep gaboons humid and a little bit cooler than a puff, but still, respiratory and puffs, that's, for me, that's not unheard of. I've never had one get it. We're going to do this, we're going to do it safely. But puff adders, guys, if you got puffs and you're working with them, hot. Keep them warm. And then give them that nighttime cool down. But still give them a cool side to retreat to if they choose to. To breed these damn things, it's not easy. I mean, you think puff adders are so prolific. I mean, they're known for having the most babies. I mean, I think I read that there was one that had 150 babies or something. I was like, I know that they can have like 60, 70 babies is kind of like, you know, big, but 150, I don't know how true it is. I read it in an article somewhere, but that's a lot of damn babies. I'm happy if I get a dozen or two, but we got a good copulation out of the pair from up here, and which I've got the female separated into a tub right now to feed her, because she won't let him eat. And he may not eat, because he's still in breed mode. And they're not due to breed for another month or two. We're going to get to feeding the puffs, and I'm going to talk a little bit about breeding them while we're feeding them. Okay, so hang in there, guys. I want to tell you appropriate size meals. Now, baby puff adders, I'll start newborn babies on like a rat pink, okay? And rat pinks are pretty big, you know. And puffs got that capability. They can take down larger prey, but I give them an appropriate size meal, and I'll feed babies a little more often than I'll feed adults. Now, babies as they're growing, I'll every 7-10 days. Then I'll give them a week or two off, and then double it up. I call it a broken schedule. I don't feed things on a consistent schedule once a week or once every 10 days. Snakes don't eat like that in the wild, so I give it to them times of plenty. There's times that are lean. There's times that are, you know, it's a broken schedule is what I call it. But anyways, but you notice all my snakes are healthy, thick, muscular. They're not overweight, but babies, I'll feed more. I'll feed more and more often because they're growing. Because I believe the first 2 years of a snake's life is going to depict how big that snake's going to turn out to be. Because the first 2 years, if it's in times of plenty, they're going to grow fast. They're going to get bigger quicker. And I think it's that first jump off for them that makes them get big, you know. And then after they reach 4 to 5 years old, you know, then I break them down. Like now, these puff adders, they're about 4 footers. You know, they're pretty good size, and it's important to give them the right size meal. If you give them something too big, they can choke it down, okay? But if they're not processing it because something happens, temperature goes off, goes away, gets too hot, AC goes out, or heater goes out, gets too cold, they're going to regurgitate. So I give them an appropriate size, something they can swallow with a little bit of stretch, but something big enough for when they grab it, they're sinking their fangs in it, okay? Their whole mouth, they're sinking their fangs in it. Same thing with gaboons. If you give them something too small, they're going to wind up hurting themselves. I've seen gaboons bite a mouse that was too small for them and end up driving a fang right through their bottom lip. I've seen puff adders do the same thing. So you want something big enough that they can sink their damn fangs into it. Like these guys will get a rat of this size, okay, and that's a medium rat. They'll get something that big enough where they can sink their fangs into it and hang on to it. And these are warm. They're warm to the touch. I don't heat them up like I do when I'm feeding the pit vipers because they're not reacting to a heat signature. They're actually going off sight and smell, but they still like them a little bit warm, I think. You know what I mean, just body temperature. But puffs are sight hunters. I mean, and it's tricky keeping puff adders together. That's why this is a good opportunity to feed them because they're on opposite ends of the cage right now. And this one, I've got to separate this one because the female, she'll choke hers down and go over and start on his while he's swallowing it. She's a hog. And she's going to be grabbing now too. But, so we separate her big ass because she's just a hog. But anyways, keeping puffs together is tricky because you got to desensitize them. Because any slight movement, they're like, pow, they bite at everything. Sometimes I can walk in here after the lights go off and they're in their little hunt positions. I walk by the cage and they'll pow, they'll pop the glass. So introducing a new one to one's cage, I rub them with the hook, I do it slow. But after they've been together for a while, they get desensitized because they're used to each other, touching each other and moving around. They're used to other movement. Because if you raise them by themselves, anything that moves, they're going to pop at it. Same thing like keeping mambas. You know, when I was keeping black mambas, I'd always try to keep them in pairs. I'd keep two of them together because it desensitizes them, makes them easier to work with. But anyways, I don't keep mambas no more. I have no damn, I don't want no mambas no more. I'll tell you all a story about a mamba sometime that why I don't screw with them no more. I'm afraid of mambas, and that's, everybody knows that. I don't fool with mambas no more. I had one actually get on my body and scroll around me like he owned me. He made me his bitch for about 30 seconds. Okay, we're gonna start with the lone male up here. And he's in position for a strike right now. That's why I stand way back because he'll come out of there like gangbusters on me. And let's get him the appropriate size rat, and we'll see if this boy's hungry. He looks like he might be in a good position for a strike. Maybe you're not hungry, huh, buddy? Them girls got you all messed up. And that's okay. He's fed up pretty well. So we're going to drop down. And we're going to go to this male now. Okay. Let me see, I'm going to have to do this from this angle. Give him a tap, feel a little bit of vibration. Oh, man, he lit that one up hard. Oh, that was cool. Oh, I hope that comes out cool on the Venom cam. He lit that one up. And see, now that's an appropriate size rat for him, for his size. That's perfect. But there's been some studies, I was reading a study, these guys are doing a thing with puff adders in Africa, and sometimes they strike and release, sometimes they strike and hang on, and they think it's because of what kind of prey and the size of the prey. They're estimating that most of them are releasing if they think that the prey item can hurt them, or it's mammal, and if the prey item is reptilian, they're hanging on. And it's, so puff adders, no, they're using their brains. If something's big enough to hurt them, they're going to bite it and let it go, and if not, they're going to hang on to it. Okay, and now we're going to close him up because look at here. See, now this girl, she is moving in because she smells that rat in there. And see that? That's just me moving my hand outside the cage. She took a poke at me. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this with the hook and stand back. We're going to get her a rat. All right. Here you go, big girl. Get a whiff of it. She's like, no, I want his. Huh? There you go. Yeah, see, now she bit it and she's hanging on. So, I don't know. Just when you think you know something, you really don't. We're all guessing at this shit. Alright. Let's move her back into her cage. Back on that side. Okay. And she's a big girl. That's a big puff adder. Okay, and this guy's over here sniffing his out. He's trying to find the head. We're going to go ahead and let them enjoy their meal. I'm going to close this back up with my hook, of course. But did you see that strike? You see him see her just like pow. It's movement. They're like raptors. Any kind of movement, they zero in on it and they attack. Okay, we're going to move over. We're going to feed this big girl in the can. And we're just going to roll right with this. All right. This is always tricky feeding puff adders in the can, because you got to reach down in there, and I don't like doing that, not one little bit. Dina, want to hold this light over here, bud? There you go. Let me get this thing in a better spot. That's good. Come on, sweetie. You hungry? She's like, no, you left me in this can for an hour. Now this is the female that just copulated. Oh, there she goes. She had to get a good whiff of it. She just copulated with the male, and I'm going to see if Miss Dina can pop that video inside of this video so y'all can see it. And it's funny too. You guys want to see it, it's pretty cool. We're going to have Miss Dina pop it in there for y'all. Okay, the pups have ate. Of course, the male, he didn't want to eat. He's in breeding mode. And I'm sure once I put this female in there, he's going to be right back on her, bumping her. But we're going to put her back, and then we're going to move over and do the gaboons. But I'm going to talk a little bit about gaboon captive care. But I'm going to use my wide hook for her because she's big and she's heavy. This to support her weight. And of course, I'm going to telescope it out a little bit and give Puffs a wide berth. Okay, let's get her cage open. Even though that male is way on that side, I'm still going to give him a wide berth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in and just desensitize him a little bit. Even though he did not want to eat, still doesn't mean he won't take a pop at something if it comes near him. Alright. Alright, let's get this big girl out of here. Oh yeah, she's a good girl. Get a big puff at her. Come on, big mama. And we're going to feed her up real good. There we go. That's a big girl right there. And now this one's already bred, so hopefully gestation will be 9 months like it was last year. And you never know about the damn gestation on these things. I mean, I've had them go 10 months, 12 months. This one went 9, or this one went 9 last year, where she gave me a couple of babies. And then gaboon's gestation is different. I mean, but you cycle them the year previous for breeding. And I've had gaboons go, I've had East African gaboons go 8 months. And then I've had West Africans go 10 months. And then I've had them go the following year. So just when you think you got them figured out, you don't. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that's got to do with females breeding and retaining sperm and releasing it when they feel that their bodies are capable of carrying young. So you never know. But these guys are done. Everybody's ate. Except that guy, of course, he's fine. He's got great body weight. It's not going to hurt him at all to miss a meal. He's probably actually going to keep trying to breed her. But copulation was good. It lasted a long time, which we're going to pop the video in so you guys can see that now. And we're going to move over and do the gaboons, but we're going to show you some puff adder breeding action. So we'll be right back. Watch the breeding going on. Okay guys, we got her fed up. We got her back in her cage. And before we show you this breeding clip, and like I said, it's kind of awkward because I just grabbed it with my cell phone. I was in here working, and I spend a lot of time in here, and I watch a lot of behavior. And I just want to tell you real quick before we show you this clip, the behavior that I have observed from these Bitis Arietans over the past several days leading up to this copulation. It was interesting because I was watching it and I was like, I'm not quite sure what's going on, because I was expecting this pair to breed like next month, because last year they bred at the same time of the year. But honestly, I truly believe that these things are able to breed whenever they want. I think like snakes that come from an arid area or a hotter climate, that they're going to breed when they feel like it. But the females, I believe this because I've bred enough snakes. I produce a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna tell you, I feel that females will retain sperm. They can retain it for almost a year probably, and when they feel that it's right for them, the right conditions, the right weather, the right body weight, they feel good enough, who knows? Then they decide to release it and become gravid, and then gestation starts. That's why I get, you know, I try to record gestation times on all my species, and I can tell you, my Bushmasters, I got it down to, I can tell you the day that they've ovulated, the day that they copulated. I can tell you the day they're going to lay their eggs. I can tell you the day that they're going to hatch. Okay? And with egg layers, it's a little easier to do that, but with live bears, it's different. It's just, it's harder to keep track of that stuff. But I'm going to tell you, what I've seen real interesting, now I've mentioned puff adders they're really sight oriented. They are, I mean, they are so tuned in with their eyesight. They're like, to me, they're like damn raptors. If you watch Jurassic Park and the raptors, if you move, they zone in on you. That's the way puff adders are. They're really sight and scent oriented. And like, you seen that strike, okay? And that was me just outside of the cage getting ready to open it, and pow, it's just movement. They catch movement and they light it up. But I've been watching the male for the past several days, okay? And he's been doing this really strange. Now, I've seen gaboons coddle lure. I've had brand new baby gaboons coiled up in my rack system. I open up a drawer and they're in there in a coil and they're coddle luring. And I was like, wow, gaboons even coddle lure, right? I've never seen big ones do it, but I've seen little ones do it. I've seen the puff adders do it, coddle lure with their tail. As babies, I've seen sub-adults do it. I've never seen an adult do it. But I was watching these adults. I was watching the male. I call it tail slapping, okay? He's lifting his tail and he's slapping it back and forth like this real quick in the cage. And she's over there in her corner, not paying any attention to him. And then a few days later, I noticed her coddle luring, raising her tail up, right? And she was literally taking her tail and moving it back, really fluid and smooth, like almost like the shape of an S. It was like fluid, and doing it really, I mean, it was graceful. I mean, and she was doing that on and off all day, and it got him kicked into gear. And the next thing I know, a few days later, because when she started doing that, I'm thinking, okay, she's releasing some type of pheromone maybe to attract him, but he turned on. That's when he started chin bumping, and I come in and boom, and they were copulated, which I didn't think it was going to happen for another month. But it just goes to show you, you're learning as you're going. For me, it's all about, I watch behavior and try to learn as much as I can because then I can better judge when things are going to happen. But I just study behavior. But watching that male doing that tail slapping, raising his tail up, and I mean, he was doing it hard and really fast. A few days later, she's doing it really slow and fluid, and it was almost graceful. It's got something to do with cueing that activity, that breeding, I believe. So it's pretty interesting to watch that and then catch the copulation. And puffs do a lot of weird little things. Like, I'll know when they're ready for a feed, and I'll tell you, and I can almost tell when they're getting ready to pop, when they're going to strike. I call it nestling. Puffs get, when they're in that position, like this one, like she's already had a feed and she's back laid in there. When they're in, I call it the hump position, they'll tuck their heads in tight to their body, and they do this weird little thing with their heads. They go, They do it like back and forth. And then they'll stop, and then they'll nestle in. And then they do it again, back and forth. Is that some type of coddle luring for something, to try to lure in a prey item? I don't know. You know, and they lay their tongues out sometimes when they're doing it. They lay their tongues out and do that. And then they go, It's freaking weird. And they pop their heads back and forth, and they lay their tongues, and they leave their tongues out for a real long period of time. Then they pull them back in, and they nestle in. It's like they're getting ready for a strike. But it's that kind of behavior that just tickles me. And I'm trying to catch it on video because I want to log it. Because it's got a meaning. They're doing it for a reason. You know what I mean? And of course, I never have the camera in here ready to video at all times. I'm in here working. I'm up to snake shit and rats and cleaning and paper towels and chlorhexidine up to my neck in here all day. And I'm not in here videoing. But I think I'm going to start keeping a camera in here just so I can grab it and start videoing stuff immediately now that we're doing the YouTube thing, and I'm trying to share some knowledge with you guys. But just watch your puff adders' behavior and see if you can catch that kind of behavior. And let me know if you see your puff adders doing that kind of behavior, because this kind of stuff interests the hell out of me. I want to know why they're doing that. See if your puffs do that nestling and they leave their tongue lay out there a long time. See if they're doing that head bob back and forth. And you'll see in the breeding video, the male, he does this dance, his head back and forth. Even though he's copulating with her, he's doing this. Bam, 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 bam. It looks like he's dancing. I sat here and I laughed. It's actually funny. It's amusing. But to me, all that stuff means something. They're doing it for a reason. Puff adders are smart. We just don't realize it. They're using their brains to do different things. They may be a really intelligent snake like a damn king cobra. But anyways, we're going to jump over to the gaboons. Now this video is taking so long because I'm trying to put so much information in it for you guys. So we're going to do a part 2. We're going to close this one out, but we're going to load part 2 to this video within probably 6-7 hours. So there'll be a 2-parter of the African Vipers, of keeping, breeding, feeding, full repertoire on keeping them happy in captivity. Okay guys, we're going to get back with you here. Don't miss part 2. Hey y'all, it's Willie at Venom Central. I'm working in a snake house today and the puff adders are at it. This pair is copulating, which actually this is a few months early for them. They bred last year and I got some babies, but this pair is the pair that didn't go. This pair bred last year. And there's the male. He's the real pretty one, and the female's a little bit darker. But this pair produced last year, and now this pair is going to produce this year. But you can see they're copulating. They're locked up. And this female's a little bit bigger and older, so I'll probably get a bunch more babies out of her. It's just a few months early. I wasn't expecting this to happen this early. You know, I guess they know what they're doing. All I can do is make the conditions right for them. And she's going to drag him around for probably 6-7 hours. Now these are Namibian puff adders. Yeah, buddy, she's going to drag you all around, huh? And there's copulation. So in about 9 months, we'll have some puff adder babies. 9 or 10 months. I think it took 10 months on this other pair last year. Their gestation's pretty long. It's like the gaboons. Man, gaboons breed 1 year, they have babies the next year. And I produce a lot of gaboons. Their gestation is like 10 months. Sometimes it goes 12. And then I had East African gaboons gestate 8 months. So, I don't know. Just when you think you got them figured out, you don't. But this pleases me. I'll produce some of these really pretty yellow puff adders this year. They've mucked up that cage. They got slime all over it. They messed everything up. But if y'all ain't familiar with snakes breeding, that's what it looks like. That snake's doing the wild thing. This is Bitis arietans, the African puff adder. Yeah, we'll see if maybe this pair goes here soon too. And my pup adders are big, man. They're like, I don't know, they're 4-footers. They're big pup adders. The females are a little bit larger than the males even. Alright, you guys, I guess I'm going to get back to work. It's a cleaning and feeding day, like every day. It's Venom Central. We're an educational channel on venomous animals, keeping, breeding, handling, all the safe way to do this kind of stuff. And we teach you about venoms and all that good stuff. Go over and check out my YouTube channel. Now I guess I'm going to have to do a YouTube video about pup adders breeding. Look at this guy. He's dancing. Oh, that's funny. Alright guys, I got to get back at it. He's like, come get some, baby. Oh, that's too funny. You already got it, dude. You ain't got to court her no more. Alright, I'm checking out. Later.